It's with great pleasure that I welcome back Dr. Sean Patel, who's the CEO and founder of Prep Expert, the title sponsor of the College Admissions Process podcast. Sean, you have a special message for the listeners?
Hey, John, I just wanted to mention for all the parents and students who are listening to this great podcast, we have a really special offer only for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast for Prep Expert. So, if your student is going to be taking an online SAT, ACT, PSAT course anytime soon, or is looking for one-on-one tutoring with top 1% tutors, head over to prepexpert.com. We offer live online courses for every college admissions exam. On top of that, we have the best score guarantees, best curriculum, and best instructors in the test prep industry. And just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast, you can get 20% off any online SAT or PSAT or ACT course, as well as one-on-one tutoring. So you can get 20% off. Just make sure you use the promo code College Talk. That's one word, College Talk, and you'll get 20% off just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast. And I hope you guys can use that to your advantage, save a bunch of money at prepexpert.com.
Thank you so much, Sean. And to everyone out there, once again, that promo code is College Talk. That's one word, College Talk. Thank you all, and best wishes.
Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante.
Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome Rachel Marlowe, who's an admissions counselor at Franklin and Marshall College. Now, we had Franklin and Marshall on the podcast back in episode number 81, which was released in December of 2022. Rachel, I am so glad to have you here so we could have a refresher, updated conversation. How are you doing today?
I'm so great. Thank you so much for having us. I'm really pumped to brag about all things F&M and really appreciate your taking the time today to talk with us.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, and I'm truly happy to have you back. So, Franklin and Marshall College has a strong commitment to academic excellence and a holistic approach to student development. Rachel, how does this mission translate into the student experience on your awesome campus?
That's a really important question for us. It's a great question. It's an important question. I mean, first and foremost, we understand that we're not just educating just students, we're educating a whole person. And that experience in the classroom at F&M is just as important as what they learn in the lab, in the studio, in galleries, in classrooms, rehearsal halls, everything that we have here at F&M, not just their classroom experience. And the lessons that they learn academically can be applied on athletic fields and on courts or on stage or in the cinema, in the Winter Visual Arts Center that we have. Really, the connections that our students forge in their clubs and organizations and their leadership opportunities that they hold on campus and their internship opportunities, their researchship opportunities that they take advantage of, we know that all of this is interconnected. And I often say that the Venn diagram of an F&M student between athlete, artist, leader on campus is just like a giant circle. And if any of these experiences existed in a vacuum, F&M wouldn't be the strong and dynamic institution that it is today.
Well, I appreciate you talking about the fact that you're not just educating students, but it's the whole person. So, Rachel, what qualities or experiences do you look for when evaluating an applicant for F&M? And are there any key traits that signal a student would thrive at your college?
Yeah, and I think that what we talked about in the first question is really reflected at the beginning in our application process as well. We really do believe in a holistic approach to student development, and that reflects on how we read. So yes, we're looking at academic strength because we are an academically challenging institution, but we also understand that the mark of a true liberal arts education is understanding that learning comes from all aspects of a student experience. So we want applicants who have taken advantage of opportunities that have been presented to them, whether it's activities, arts, sports, service, employment opportunities. Lots of our students have some sort of part-time job. We're looking for, in letters of recommendation, that letters that can really speak to the unique qualities of an applicant. But by and large, my favorite part of the application process is reading the essay. I'm a former teacher, so I love reading the students' own words. I really feel like that's where they're in the driver's seat. So I would say that a key trait to a student who would thrive at F&M and what we're looking for when we're reading our applications is someone with an internal drive to like discover and learn, has an inherent curiosity, and who really takes advantage of the of various opportunities that are presented to them. Those are the students that will thrive on our campus.
That's awesome. And I love how you talked about understanding the holistic approach to student development. And I know that you mentioned some parts of the overall application, which we're going to come back to. Rachel, Franklin and Marshall is also known for its strong liberal arts programs. How does this academic focus prepare students for future careers or graduate study? And are there any specific programs or interdisciplinary opportunities that stand out to you?
This is probably my favorite question. I love the liberal arts. I'm a product of liberal arts education myself, and I really truly believe in the philosophy behind it. So trending data just shows that more versatile and flexible and malleable employee applicants are, the more that they are those qualities, the more likely they are to land the job. They simply just have more skill sets to pull from their tool belt, so they're going to be more successful in the workforce. And oftentimes, I feel like students I saw this especially when I was teaching. Students felt like they had to laser like focus, like they had to know what they wanted to do when they were 18 years old, and that's a really tall order. That's a really tough get for a lot of students. And a liberal arts education just allows them to diversify their skill sets, which make them that more attractive candidate in the workforce. At FNM, you can do this without sacrificing the rigor or intensity of academic learning. And just because you're lifting your gaze to take advantage of opportunities doesn't mean you're sacrificing the strength of one program over another. I often like to say when I'm giving info sessions, I'll like hot seat our tour guides and ask them what they're studying. And they're just the epitome of just interdisciplinary studies. Some examples that I know have been pieced together are dance and environmental science, government and psychology. I was downtown in Lancaster the other, probably about a year ago. It was at our homecoming weekend, and I saw a dad with an F&M hat on. His daughter, who is now a senior, is some sort of mix of music, chemistry, and government and international relations. And to me, that right there is like the key of a liberal arts education and interdisciplinary studies. One other real life anecdote that I do like to highlight is a story that comes from our music professor, Dr. Brian Norcross. He teaches orchestra and conducting, and he's just a mastermind in so many ways. But he had a student who went on to become a surgeon who was working in an ER situation, so a trauma specialist. And at one point, a case came in, and the ER was very chaotic. And this student used her skills that she learned in Dr. Norcross's conducting class to organize the situation and to really focus everybody in. So using those skills that you pick up in places that you may not have discovered them before is going to come in handy in the workforce.
Well, that had to be one of the best explanations of what a liberal arts education is all about. And I also appreciate the many examples in terms of the interdisciplinary studies that are clearly available at Franklin and Marshall. So let's unpackage a little bit that application review because I know that the listeners out there definitely want to hear about it. They want to pull back the curtain on the admissions office. So, Rachel, can you share how FNM's test optional policy works in practice and how do you advise students who are uncertain about whether or not they should submit those standardized test scores?
Yeah, this is a real stress point for students that we've been seeing, and we want to take that stress away. We know that junior and senior year have got enough going on as it is, and the more we can streamline our process to make their lives easier, the more we're going to do on our end. So we have been SAT and ACT optional for 30 years. We have no intention of going back. In fact, this past year, we've doubled down on that test optional policy and have adopted what's called a do no harm policy. Some of your listeners may have heard of this before, but essentially, it means that if a student submits their scores and they do anything but strengthen their application, we disregard them, we ignore them. And having gone through a cycle of reading now, I can truly say a better way to say that might be if a student submits their scores and they're just amazing and incredible, we just make a little note of it on their application. We don't want the students to stress over whether they should submit to FNM or they shouldn't submit to FNM, whether their scores are in the range or not. We can take that away from them and really make their application the best it can be by deciding for them whether their scores will help or hurt.
Wow, 30 years you've been test optional.
Yes.
So clearly, one example of a school that it had nothing to do with the pandemic, as so many after the pandemic, or I should say during the pandemic, did in fact go test optional. And I really appreciate you explaining also your no harm policy so that if a student submits test scores, not only are you test optional, but if scores are submitted, in no way are you going to have them harm the student's overall application. So we appreciate that explanation. And Rachel, demonstrated interest is often considered by smaller colleges. How does it factor into your review process, and what are some authentic ways students can show their interest in F&M?
Yeah, I'm going to put my teacher hat on for this one, my former teacher hat on for this one. I like to say that if we see a student who has demonstrated interest, they get a little gold star in their column. It's like a little, wow, that's great. We want to know that our students like us as much as we like them. And we really do love our applicants. Like, we really get to know them on a very personal level. Which is kind of a pride point for us because we read nearly 10,000 applications a year. Like, it's a lot of students to keep track of, but we really can point to specific stories with each student. And that really is done through demonstrated interest. It's by no means a make or break for a student. We understand that students are busy and they might not have time to reach out to every college that they're applying to. But the best piece of advice that I can give your listeners while they're navigating this process does have to do with demonstrated interest. I would say if a college that they're applying to has the opportunity to interview, take advantage of that opportunity because it allows you to pull out things from your application that you want to double down on, but it also allows you to fill in some gaps on your application that you may not have had the room to put in. It's truly putting you in the driver's seat of the conversation. And it's allowing us to attach a face to the pages or the paper or the screen when we're reading your application. So if I'm sitting on application number, let's say 75 of the day, and I can say, oh, I remember Sally Sue from my high school visit, and she came to do an interview and she doubled down with us. That just allows us to have you pop off the page a little bit more.
Well, I appreciate the explanation of demonstrating your interest, particularly students. Again, I'm going to repeat, if you have the opportunity to interview, as for
Yes.
Rachel, absolutely take advantage of that because, again, puts you in the driver's seat and allows you to pick and maybe even add to certain parts of your overall application. So that's great advice. Now, you mentioned a little earlier something about essays. So let's unpackage that a little bit. Rachel, essays obviously play a significant role in the application process. What makes an application essay stand out to your admissions team? And are there any common themes or approaches that resonate with you and, again, the people in your office?
Yeah. So again, I feel like if I had a quarter for every time I said former teacher, I would be able to retire. I just love reading essays. I love it. I would say, when you're deciding what you're going to write about, don't be afraid to let your unique quality shine. Honestly, to be a little colloquial about it, whatever makes you weird is your superpower. The things that you don't think are special about you, or maybe even that you want to like hide away a little bit, or you're just starting to discover about yourself, are the things that make you interesting. So just let it shine. We read a lot of applications, as I just mentioned. So chances are your most unique qualities are the ones that are going to make you stand out through the reading process. We want to connect with you through your own words. We want a personal story if you want to share it, or if you can make us laugh, or if you can write from the heart. Those are all the essays that we remember.
Well, those are great pieces of advice. And as you review applications from recent years, Rachel, have you noticed any trends in what makes a student stand out, whether in terms of their academics, extracurriculars, or how they express their fit with F&M?
Mhm. Well, I think we've been talking about a little bit through this interview that the beautiful thing about FNM, and because we are such a strong community in so many different ways, and as an institution, the way that our applicants present themselves is what makes us that strong institution. So I can't overemphasize enough the holistic approach that we have to reading applications because we take a holistic approach to teaching our students and the learning that we do here as well. The things that I would say would make applicants stand out would continue to be strengths across all areas. So academics, activities, recommendations, and essay. It's always great to hear why you love F&M. It's always great to hear why a student loves applying to that school and is considering that school for continuing their education. But your ability to succeed here will come through in an application, regardless of whether you put something specific in F&M about it. So I would just say consistency across the board because that's what we teach here. So that's what we want to see in preparation.
Absolutely, and great advice. And Rachel, F&M obviously offers a variety of specialized programs, such as in the sciences, business, and public policy, just to name a few. What unique aspects should students keep in mind when applying to these specialized and competitive programs?
I think students should be prepared for real world experiences through experiential learning. And opportunities through those specialized programs. So, we're a very hands on institution. We want to put the reins in the hands of students almost at the outset. And we're always looking for ways for students to apply their academic experience in the classroom to real world experiences. So, students should understand that while programs that are highly specialized on our campus, we do have those programs, we're also the true strength of those programs is their 360-degree approach. One program that I love to highlight is our boss majors or our business organization and society majors. We call them the bosses on campus. They love to flex that, which is great. But students aren't just siphoned into marketing, data analytics, finance. They're going to learn all of the aspects of business. Again, that holistic approach really is the underpinning here. And that just makes them more competitive candidates when it comes to their MBA program or entering the business world. So while a student may be interested in studying a particular faction of a science or a business or public policy or insert area of academic interest here, just be prepared to grapple with all aspects of that subject.
Well, we appreciate that. And of course, cost of college attendance is definitely a conversation for so many students and their families. So, Rachel, financial aid can be a significant consideration, obviously, for all of those families that are listening. What can prospective students and their families expect in terms of merit based scholarships, need based aid, and financial aid aspects of FNM?
Yeah, this is, I understand that college is an investment. We still have student loan payments happening in my family today. So it is, however, I will say the bill that I'm happiest to pay every month because the value of an education is really the invaluable education that you receive.
Hmm.
So when it comes to F&M and financial aid, I describe our enrollment team, both our admissions department and our financial aid department, as a very heart forward institution. We truly care about our students. And for those who are qualified, we really want to make this education as accessible as possible. So we are a 100% need met institution, meaning that we will make sure F&M as an institution can meet the demonstrated need of all those that we admit. So we have reintroduced merit scholarships in the last cycle, and we've gotten really wonderful feedback on that, which has been really great. And the great thing about the way that we do merit scholarships here at FNM is that your application for admission is your application for the scholarship. So, like I said, we want to keep it simple and easy for our students. We don't want them to have to fill anything out additionally, no extra essays, no extra applications. Your application for admission is your application for scholarship. Again, we're very heart forward and we understand that our applicants have full plates. So, the more streamlined we can do that, the better. And then another anecdotal story that I like to tell kind of surrounds the FAFSA launch a few years ago that sort of buckled underneath everyone and it felt like the world was collapsing, and rightfully so. Despite unprecedented confusion and uncertainty, our financial aid team was able to still offer our financial aid packages at time of admission. And we have historically done that. So I really think that underpins the idea that our financial aid team truly cares about the investment of college and making it accessible to our student, and they want to be as transparent and as helpful as possible.
Well, we appreciate that. You mentioned many times that the team is heart forward, and you've given multiple examples in terms of how your team is heart forward, but also FNM in general. So we thank you for that, Rachel. Now, every college has this thing called institutional priorities when shaping its incoming freshman class, with class size being one of the most common priorities, of course. What is FNM's target freshman class size, Rachel, and how many applications do you typically receive to meet that goal?
Sure. So our target class size is between 500 and 550 students. We are intentionally a small institution. We like that community feel that comes with knowing your professors one on one. We have a 10-to-1 student faculty ratio, and our average class size sits at about 17. And we want to maintain that community feel. I often say you come to FNM for the academics, but you stay for the communities that you find. And that is because we are a small institution. We receive generally about 10,000 applications a year. So choosing that 550 is tough for us. It really is. And again, I mentioned it before, heart forward, we really love our students and we really fight for and advocate for every spot because we know it is a competitive atmosphere. A lot of our shaping from year to year will be different, but some of the constants that we look for that ensure that we stay true to the strength of our institution are a diverse community of students, leadership opportunities, global perspectives, involvement, and engaged candidates. We really, again, it starts with the reading process for us with applications. We want to make sure that we have holistic students who are taking advantage of all different opportunities on our campus.
Hey, podcast friends, if you've been enjoying the College Admissions Process podcast, I'm excited to share my new book, Straight from the Admissions Office, Insider Strategies for College Applications.
It's packed with insights and tips from over 250 podcast episodes with admissions professionals designed to make the college process less overwhelming. Whether you're a student, parent, or college counselor, it's a valuable resource for navigating the admissions process. By grabbing a copy, you're also helping to support the podcast. The links are in the show notes. Thank you, and best wishes to all with the college admissions process.
Well, we appreciate that, and I particularly like when you said that you come to F&M for the academics, but you stay for the outstanding community, which I think is wonderful, and it needed to be repeated. So, just expanding a little bit more on institutional priorities beyond class size, and you've touched upon a couple of things, but Rachel, are there any other institutional priorities or values that influence how applications are reviewed each year, again, at F&M?
So, like I said, it'll shift from year to year, but the constant that I really like to double down on is that sense of community that we talked about. So our students get that feeling when they walk on campus. They like know. They say, this is it. This is where this feels right in my skin. This feels right in my body. This feels right in my heart, my mind. I know I'm going to be academically challenged. And I know that I'm going to be among folks who are just as academically driven as I am, but who also want to keep their eyes up and ears open for different opportunities. And that just breeds connection. So that's really, I would say, beyond class size, the number one institutional priority for us is, how is this applicant going to aid our community? What are they going to bring to our world? And what can we learn from them, just as we're teaching them as well?
Well, I'm glad you said that. Students, again, what she's saying is the academics are absolutely important in the sense that they want to admit students that they know can handle the rigors of their academics once you're on campus, but they want to see the connection. How are you going to add to their community? What kind of a roommate you're going to be? What kind of a classmate you're going to be? How are you going to contribute? Those things are equally as important. So don't forget that as you put your applications together. Now, Rachel, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Before I get to the last question, I always like to ask, is there a question I didn't ask that you wish I had, or a topic that simply didn't come up in our awesome conversation that you'd like to share with our listeners now?
I think I just like to double down on the community aspect of FNM. An anecdotal story for you, one that I like to tell, is that as a teacher, when I first moved to Lancaster, I wasn't anticipating switching careers. And when I was exploring my new city of Lancaster, which is absolutely incredible. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. I walked onto FNM's campus. I just happened to wander onto it. Didn't even really realize it was a college campus. And I just was like, oh, this is a cool space. I wonder where I am. This is a really cool space. And I walked around and I started seeing Franklin and Marshall, this and our FNM logo. The ampersand is very big for us. And I was like, I got that same feeling that I was just describing of students who step foot on our campus. This feels really wonderful. This feels like a great place. And I think I want to hang out here. I think I want to be here. So I went online that day and I looked at their website just to see, and they happened to be hiring an admission counselor, and I jumped at the opportunity. And every day that I set foot on this campus is a day that I feel great about where I landed. And I'm unbelievably grateful that I just happened to stumble upon the campus. And again, that campus, our campus community of FNM, of Franklin and Marshall College, is so stunning and beautiful and diverse. It's like a beautiful mosaic. But we are also part of a larger community in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Now, Lancaster as a county is extremely diverse. When you Google it, you're going to see rural farmlands, you're going to see all kinds of farm stands and beautiful rolling hills and silos and horse and buggies and all that. And that's true, that is here. But F&M exists in the city of Lancaster. So it's a city of about 65,000. It's extremely diverse. If you're a foodie at all, you definitely want to be in Lancaster. Money Magazine and Forbes Magazine within the last 5 years have both said it's one of the top 50 places to live in the country. I kind of want to keep that a little bit tucked under my hat because I love it so much. But really, everybody should experience the beauty of Lancaster. We have access as a college to the resources that the city has to offer because we are in the city. But a 15-minute drive west gets you to the Susquehanna River. Another 20 minutes beyond that gets you on the Appalachian Trail. So you're just perfectly situated in this beautiful access to urban, access to rural, resources on both ends. And you're never lost for something to do when you're at F&M. You can really have the best of both worlds. And honestly, our location is really the thing that we can't do anything about. We started here as Franklin College in 1787. We just happened to be in Lancaster, and Lancaster grew up around us. You can't talk about the history of Lancaster without talking about the history of Franklin and Marshall. And you can't talk about really education in America without talking about the history of Franklin and Marshall and how we've helped shape shape different educational pathways and how our history is steeped in American history as well. I think 4 of our initial board members for the college were signers of the Declaration of Independence. James Buchanan, former president of the United States, was a president of our board of trustees as well. So you have history here, you have culture here, you have, again, an amazing food scene, you have arts, you have galleries, you have an incredible plant. I know plants are a big thing now. You have incredible plant life here. I really can't make a pitch big enough for Lancaster. It's truly a hidden gem that I'd love for some more students to discover.
Well, you did Lancaster and Franklin and Marshall proud. That was an amazing explanation. And I've been to the Lancaster area many times, and it is absolutely beautiful, just like you described. Unfortunately, Rachel, it does lead us now to our last question, which is, what are your top 3 pieces of advice you would provide students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
Sure. So I'm going to speak sort of from 2 different lenses. One as just someone who works in admissions, regardless of FNM, and then I am going to speak a little bit specifically to FNM. So the first thing I'll say across the board, universally, your uniqueness is your superpower. While you're still figuring out who you are, and aren't we all, honestly, but while you're still at that critical stage of really figuring out who you are and who you want to be, don't be afraid to lean into the pieces of your world that you love the most and that fuel you. We want to know what makes you tick, and oftentimes that will make you stand out as an applicant. And that's across the board. At FNM, there are real people on the other side of this process, and we want to get to know you. So take a little bit of extra effort to reach out to your admission counselors and know that we care about your application really just as much as you do. We are always looking for reasons to bring students to FNM, so we are your biggest advocates. And hopefully other colleges can say the same, but I know that to be true at our, again, heart forward institution. And then the final piece of advice is that trust me when I say that you will land where you are supposed to land. Even if you transfer, I was a transfer student. Even if you transfer, you'll find your fit, you're going to find your home, you're going to find your community. And in doing all of that, you're going to find yourself and you're going to be fine.
Well, those are tremendous pieces of advice. And I have to repeat what you said. Quote, your uniqueness is your superpower, students. And I repeat that because in competitive application pools, students, you don't want to sound like just any other person. So make the application unique to who you are. Make sure your voice, your personality shines through, and you will find the right fit for you. Remember, there's over 4,000 colleges and universities in the country alone. There are many schools that are the right fit for you, but not all of them are. So if you apply and you don't get in, look at the schools where you do get in and make the best of it for sure. Now, Rachel, this was a phenomenal conversation. I'm so grateful that you came on to share all of your tips and your expertise. I'm looking forward to having you again in the future. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having us, and come to Lancaster. We'd be happy to welcome you.
Absolutely. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care all, and best wishes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The CAP.
Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.